So, quote, analysis of correctness focuses on whether they produce the game they intended, i.e., whether the game plays the way they want it to, or whether the game that was designed to be fun was, in fact, fun. Analysis of efficiency involves creating the simplest code to achieve the desired behavior, end quote. Page 34. So analysis takes place throughout the overall process as testing and debugging are prevalent. However, quote, students often need an external motivator to focus on efficiency because when their game is working, they see little reason to edit the code, end quote. Page 34. Now, I too have found similar findings in the classes that I used to facilitate. If I notice that kids were working on a project, like let's say a quiz game, where if the person guessed the answer correctly, they'd get a point, or if they guessed it incorrectly, they'd lose a point, and then it'd move on to the next question, I might go up to a kid and be like, hey, that's really cool code. Want me to show you a simpler way that you can do that? And I'd show them something that allows them to kind of automate some of those processes or turn them into functions so they don't have to keep writing the same code over and over. And kids would look at that and be like, cool, that's neat, but I'm going to keep doing it my way. And honestly, it just meant that they were going to practice writing it one way. It works the same. We didn't have to worry about memory or speed or things like that in the particular platforms that they were using, so I was cool with it. However, if you want them to focus on efficiency, you might actually have to enforce it or find some kind of a fun way to make a challenge of how can we make it so that you use the least amount of code possible. For example, who can make a fun game with the least amount of code? Which, by the way, I went to MagFest, which is the music and gaming festival, in January. And one of these sessions that I went to was on creating games, art, animation, etc., using a very small amount of code. Like enough code that you could actually tweet it out in a single tweet. One of the things that I would say is that this could lead to some really interesting projects in CSK8. So, for example, like who can create the game with the least amount of code? If you are interested in learning more about that, you can go to websites like dwitter.net, DWITTER, or searching for hashtags like JS1K, which is for JavaScript 1000 in terms of memory, or searching for hashtag tinycode, and I'll include links to those in the show notes again. Maybe engaging in those resources that relate to using a small amount of code, maybe that'll give you some ideas for how you can encourage efficiency when writing code. Which again, not all kids are interested in efficiency when it comes to the code if they already have something that's working as intended. This excerpt is from CSK8 podcast number 26, which is titled Computational Thinking for Youth in Practice. You can listen to this full episode as well as hundreds more by simply searching for the CSK8 podcast on your favorite podcast app or by simply going to jaredoleary.com.